Hey, did you listen to the court proceedings this morning in front of the D.C. Appeals Court, a three-judge panel, as Trump's rather crazy lawyer tried to justify Trump's actions outside the law as they are, but because he's the president, or he was the president, or he might be the president. Oh, my God. I listened to it because there was no television cameras allowed inside a federal court of any sort. This was the three-judge panel of the Court of Appeals. And I listened to the audio and just sat there dumbfounded that this fast-talking attorney of Trump's was trying to make a case that Trump had the power, the right, and the constitutional permission to do anything he wanted to do, including having people murdered. And he was safe from prosecution after leaving office unless he had been impeached and convicted by the United States Senate. I mean, this is just getting to the point where it is totally, completely insane. But when you're dealing with somebody like Trump in his quest to destroy the country, this is what you have to deal with, right? Anyway, for the first time in months in a federal trial or court hearing against this orange antichrist, Trump showed up in front of the judges in Washington that heard this miserable, whining bastard this morning. The judges, by the way, were expressing some very deep skepticism that the orange antichrist was immune from prosecution on charges that he organized and plotted and led an attempt to overturn the results of the 2020 election. As I listened to the three judges, I found myself hearing not just skepticism, but almost disdain for the argument being presented by Trump's lawyer, from these judges. Just like, what the fuck are you doing in my courtroom this morning? But that's just my impression. Now, the panel, these three judges, and, here it is. Two of them were appointed by Joe Biden. Oh, no. You see? Oh, God. Oh, well, what about the three on the Supreme Court that were appointed by the Antichrist? Oh, never mind. Anyway, the three judges also questioned whether they even had jurisdiction to consider an appeal at this point in the case. Trump brought the appeal, not Jack Smith. And they raised the prospect that Trump's effort, his whole effort to get this thrown out on appeal before there's adjudication by the district court, that the whole thing could be dismissed. The appeal could be dismissed, not the case against Trump. That's never going to be dismissed. But anyway, there were lengthy arguments, and a lot of the arguments made by Trump's lawyer were almost incomprehensible. And I'm not necessarily referring to his strange vocal situation. I don't know if he has a cold or if that's the way he normally talks or if he talks that fast in normal conversation. I have no idea. But it was very hard to follow Trump's lawyer. But during the arguments, the judges repeatedly pressed that guy to defend claims being made by the orange Antichrist that he was shielded from criminal charges for acts that he says fell within the official duties as president. What, he had a duty to try to overturn an election? I mean, this is what I mean about the insanity of this. But when you have a crazy son of a bitch like Donald Trump, who probably does consider himself to be some sort of messiah, then this is the kind of craziness you're going to get in a courtroom. Now, that very argument that Trump was exempt from any kind of criminal charges, no matter what he did, that whole argument was rejected last month by a lower court judge who is overseeing the case against Trump. And the appeals judges suggested through their questioning that they also were looking at this as bullshit. that the framers of the Constitution never envisioned absolute immunity for presidents after they leave office. I mean, oh, God. I just get breathless and tongue-tied trying to talk through this stuff. Anyway, Judge Karen Henderson on this appeals panel this morning, an appointee of former President Herbert Walker Bush, she said, quote, I think it's paradoxical to say that referring to Trump, his constitutional duty to take care that the laws are faithfully executed allows him to violate criminal law. This is the argument that Trump's dumb shit attorney was trying to make before this appeals court. That even though this orange monster, this Antichrist, took an oath, we saw it, if you were watching on television that terrible day when he was sworn in, he took an oath to faithfully execute the laws of the United States, and then he turns around and violates them, but he's supposed to be immune from that? It's total madness. And this is what's causing people like the woman I quoted from Iowa to come up with such bullshit statements. Well, Jesus died for my sins to protect me, and Donald Trump has just tried to protect me. From what? From what? But the from whats don't mean shit to people who come up with that kind of an argument in favor of Donald Trump. It's just the connection has happened in these reptilian brains of a good 30% of the population of this country. And I'm talking 10, 15, 20 million people who have lost the ability to separate bullshit, religious bullshit, from political fact. They can't do it anymore. Donald Trump is their Messiah, even though according to their bullshit book, he is the Antichrist. But I digress. Now, the outcome that this three-judge panel will decide upon, and I think it's going to come rather quickly, it carries enormous ramifications both for the criminal case against Trump and for the broader and legally untested question of whether an ex-president can be prosecuted for acts committed in the White House. One of the arguments that the dumb shit lawyer tried to make, the one defending the Antichrist, was that as president, not only is Trump immune from the law, and the example presented by one of the judges to this dumb shit lawyer was this. The judge said, so you're telling me, I'm paraphrasing, so you're telling me that if a president of the United States, some hypothetical president, shot and killed somebody or ordered the death of somebody while he was president, once he left office, he could not be prosecuted for murder? And this dumb shit lawyer for the Antichrist tried to convince the judge that that was the case. Now, what the three-judge panel heard today in their decision will obviously set the stage for any appeals before the U.S. Supreme Court. And last month, that Supreme Court, run by 6 Christian fascists, declined a request to weigh in on all this, but it could still get involved later, especially when Trump is found guilty, and then goes screaming to his 3 appointees on the Supreme Court, save me, save me. So they will definitely have a moment where they will be forced to act, the U.S. Supreme Court. So that's the stage that has been set for now. And I think we all know now, because we've been told over and over and over, that a swift decision is crucial. What this three-judge panel heard this morning, the decision is crucial for the special counsel, for Jack Smith and his team, because they want to get the case, which is now paused, pending the outcome of this appeal this morning. They want to get the case to trial before the November election. But Trump's so-called legal team, in addition to trying to get the case dismissed, are trying to stretch this out, stall, delay, protracted appeals process, delay, well past the scheduled March 4th start date that has already been set for this trial, including until potentially after the election. Well, if I know this and you know this, I'm sure every single judge knows this. What is this? It's this. If this is stalled until after the election and this orange antichrist becomes president again, he will immediately order all of this trashed, shit-canned, throw it away. His so-called Justice Department will end this. It will be over, and Trump will once again skate free. This criminal son of a bitch, once again, will skate free. And Jack Smith knows this, and I think every single judge who is asked to hear evidence in this case or an appeal in this case, they also know this. They know that they're up against the clock. So, underscoring the importance of the clock running, the importance to both sides, Trump to once again weasel his slimy way out of it, and the Justice Department to get justice, underscoring, therefore, the importance to both sides. Trump attended today's arguments. Even though the Iowa caucuses are just a week away, he sent his pet dog, the Q-bitch, Marjorie Taylor Greene, out to Iowa to stump for him, so to speak. But Trump was there because I think what he was trying to do is put on that little, I'm very pissed off scowl on his face in front of the judges, hoping to intimidate them or to remind them when the hearing is over and a decision is rendered by these three judges, Trump has the power to order them to get death threats and swatting events and threats to their children and grandchildren and property and aunties and uncles and friends and house pets. And I think Trump's presence in the courtroom this morning was to remind these three judges, I have the power to fuck with you so badly you'll never recover. Oh, why are you laughing, Malloy? So, it was his first court appearance in D.C., which, by the way, is one of 4 cities where he faces criminal prosecution, this filthy pig. His first court appearance in D.C. since his arraignment back in August. According to a reporter who was in the courtroom, the orange antichrist sat at the defense table, watching intently and occasionally taking notes. Can you imagine what this son of a bitch wrote on his little yellow legal pad? And speaking with his lawyers, he probably sang to his lawyers stuff like, hey, listen, I really have to take a leak. Is it okay if I get up and leave the courtroom? Can I get back in? Where's the bathroom? Is it down the hall? Oh. And the orange antichrist already let the world know that he's going to use the appearance in this courtroom this morning to portray himself as, like Jesus Christ, the victim of a politicized justice system. I'm just trying to sacrifice myself for you like my good friend Jesus Christ did, and look what they're doing to me. Hi, Truth Seekers. Mike Malloy here. You know, the Progressive Voices Network brings you commercial-free commentary from today's leading progressive radio hosts and pundits, like me, Mike Malloy, 24 hours a day. I'm not your typical old guy from the 80s or the 90s talk radio host, and Progressive Voices is not your typical talk radio network. It's a listener-supported nonprofit with no corporate control whatsoever over our broadcast. So hosts like me, Mike Malloy, are free to rant and scream and carry on about whatever we like. We're often controversial, but we're never boring. Weeknights, 9 p.m. in the East, 6 p.m. in the West on the Progressive Voices Network. Always progressive, always on. I'm Mike Malloy. Keep it lit.